Hi everyone. I am trying to hold this like a fan and it is definitely not cooperating, go figure. But here's a small example of some of the stuff we are going to talk about today. So I told you you're going to get more videos like this where I'm in front of the camera because so many people over the years are like very complimentary and I appreciate it, and they're like, so why aren't you in front of the camera? I guess people were like, you're not an ogre, so why aren't you in front of the camera? Other people are in front of the camera, but you're not. Well, it was because it was all about the subject matter for me, not about me. But now I am going to be in front of the camera more, and some of the questions that you guys had, I am going to answer in this video. We are also going to talk about buttons, bits, and bobs. And of course, we're going to talk about ephemera and, yes, junk journaling. So, let me set the premise for this. So the premise for this is because one of the questions that I get, I'm going to say probably top 10 question, is like, how do you decide what you're going to use? How do you decide what you're going to keep in your collections so that you have them when it's time for you to junk journal? Or what buttons do you decide to keep and use for, I would say, non-collecting versus collecting? And so all of that will be answered here because there are people who aren't, which I totally get it. There's so much stuff out there. You're just not sure of what you should keep and what you shouldn't keep. Another question I get a lot, which I am going to quickly talk about now because I believe in the last, I'm going to say 10 days, I probably have had, and I'm giggling because I've talked about this so many times if you watch my button videos, but I probably had like 8 to 10 questions about what do I use to store my buttons in. So let's quickly talk about that. I use a variety of things, including which I don't have one handy in front of me as I look right now, but I do use the little like craft cases that have like 28 or 20 or 25 or whatever it is, little individual slots in them. It's a plastic thing, you open it, and you could put your buttons in all the little sections. That, to me, is very general. As a matter of fact, you know what? Because it's me, and you know I like to be thorough, let me show you one. So here's an example. These little plastic cases are great for keeping your buttons in. This one happens to have all charms in it. So this is full of all vintage antique charms that I've collected over the numerous decades. And then there's this style, which this one actually has beads in it, but you can see the little sections in there. Perfect for like your diminutive buttons, that kind of thing. But like I said, these are great whether you're a button collector or a junk journaler to keep you organized. And I have lots of these various cases. This is the most popular case, and you can get any of these at your local like arts and crafts type stores. You can even get them in some cases at your home improvement stores because guys and gals will put their like screws, nuts, bolts, blah, 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 those little bits and bobs in these. But the craft stores all have these, and as you can see from the back, there's, you know, I don't know how many individual sections there are. There maybe 18 on this one or something like that. But those are what I consider the most standard things to use. A non-standard thing to use is to use a Ferrero Rocher candy tray. And this is the tray portion of it. And this goes inside of their Lucite candy box. I don't have the box here in front of me because it has some stuff in it that I'm sorting. And I didn't want to show you guys that yet because that's coming up in a future video. Eek. So yeah, these, come on, there's tons of little like spots here for you to put a lot of buttons, and this sits right inside of their own custom candy box with the lucite. What I like about the lucite is that you can see through it, so you know exactly what's in there, and you can easily label it. I usually just take a little paper label, put one on either side, back and front, so that any way that I turn the box for storage, I know exactly what's in there. So, and lots of people have asked me, like, what's that tray inside of the Ferrero Rocher candy box? It's the tray that comes with the candy. So at least, hopefully, that's like almost an urban thing, like an urban legend thing. It's like, ooh, what is that? So hopefully I answered it. Ask as often as you want, and I promise I'll answer it again in the future if you need me to. I'm downloading a video while I do this as well. So if you see me look down here, I'm looking at the exporting to see how it's progressing. So some of the things that we will also discuss in a future video is how I select items for my junk journals. You know, whether it's pulling buttons from my collection, ephemera from my various ephemera collections. This here, someone actually asked me, like, what is this? This is a tower of ephemera. So as you can see, plenty of room to grow in all of these, but empty, half empty, well, maybe more than half empty. And this is like half empty as well. Actually, most of these are half-ish empty. But what I do is in here, for example, this top level that has paper in it, these are my large pieces. So those are like big, giant page-size pieces. And then in here, I have some of the smaller, what I call specialized items. And then, you know, tiny items, diminutive items. And here I have postcards. I have envelopes that have been canceled by the post office that go back to the 1800s up until approximately the 1960s. I really don't go beyond that much. So that's another method for, you know, sorting your ephemera. I figure I might as well talk about that since I talked about button, you know, storage and sorting. So I have a whole system of these cases, and I have another system of these cases, and I have a chest of drawers that are actually made for you to store, like archival kind of things. And from here, I believe that there's maybe 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There's probably like 20 drawers, and they are like 3 or 4 different sizes. What we'll do in a future video is we'll go through and I'll show you some of the items that I have in those drawers, because I have to admit, it is interesting. My husband's like, it's so interesting. And I caught him looking in my drawers, you guys. And I was like, what are you doing in my stuff? He goes, I was just looking because you're always like putting stuff in here and it's just so interesting. So I know that you guys will enjoy seeing some of the things that I have in there. And it'll also give you an idea, which is part of the purpose of this as well, as to things that you can also use in your ephemeral journey. I just love saying that. And also things that you can use for junk journaling, of course. So first of all, let's look at, since these are so tactile, I can't stop like touching them, but I have these 2 mother of pearl buttons, and just the colors are just so, look at the colors in this. Absolutely amazing. I do have others in my collection, so this is not something I haven't seen before, but I do love these because they're just so cool looking. And then here's another one. And once again, I definitely have buttons like this in my collection, and I should show you the back. So you can see the shell on the back versus what the shell looks like on the front. So neat. So let me put those down because I could touch them all night. So let's talk about some of the things that you can use in your junk journaling journey. And this, I believe, is an outstanding question that people ask, because if they're trying to start this, some people believe that, they need to go online and order all of this stuff. I would say stop and don't do that. The reason I would say that is because your first journey should be to look in your own environment, and if you have family members that are good and decent and giving and hopefully aren't selfish. I know not everyone, believe me, I know not everyone has that. Then what you can do is ask them, especially the older people in your family, just ask them, do you have any old magazines that I can have? Do you have any old newspapers I can have? They may not want to give up their old letters, obviously, if they're still alive, especially. But sometimes you might ask and say, do you have any old greeting cards or postcards that I can have? And if they say yes, gold mine, because first of all, you're going to start out by having some vintage items and potentially antique items in your new collection. But then you do have to decide, are those items I am willing to, let's just say, manipulate or use in a different way? Because some people are purist and they believe that any old scrap of paper, which is what ephemera is, whether it's a photograph or an advertisement or a letter, or it's usually something paper in nature, their thought is that it should just stay the way it is and be filed away, I guess. And I don't agree with that. I agree that some of it should definitely stay the way it is, but I also believe that there's tonnage of this stuff. We could probably go to let's not even go to the moon, go to Pluto and back trillions of times with all of these little scraps and bits and bobs of paper that we have. So why not put it to use? And in some cases, you are definitely preserving it and saving it from a future landfill or a current landfill, or just from being hoarded or lost and dusty in a corner or of a drawer someplace or in an attic or a basement, whatever. So my thing is, if you can use it or if you want to use it, life is short, use it. But if it's something of historical value, not just to you because your aunt, Jojo wrote this letter in 1843 and talked about the weather and her trip from New York City to Long Island or something, there's if you read the letter, there's nothing in there mentioning, yes, and I went by the Empire State Building today and I saw they just started construction. That's historical. You would want to keep that. And you hopefully, in some cases, some of this stuff, you move on to museums and things like that. Or maybe even your historical society or some towns themselves. I know a town in particular that's like a town over from where we live, where their town hall actually houses a lot of historical information about that town. So you might want to donate that way. But, if it's just, here's a grocery list. I purchased some sarsaparilla and I got some chicory coffee. I mean, it might have some meaning to you and your family, but will it really have meaning to anyone else outside of it? And if it's just a dusty piece of paper, or even if it's a well-preserved piece of paper that has been put away forever and never has seen the light of day in let's just say 80, 90, 100 years, or even if it's 10 years, then maybe it's something you should consider using in your journal creations. So right now, before we go further, I do want to talk about this particular question, which I get a lot. Well, there's two. It's like a part A, part B question. One question that was asked was, what are junk journals used for? And do you use your junk journal? So, like journal or journals, some people, have multiples like I do. So the first question, what is a junk journal? What is it? So what it is basically, it's a collection of ephemeral pieces that have been put together in an artistic manner. Now, some of these pieces may be brand new. I did a video previously on sticker books and ephemera books, like some of the best ones that you can get online right now. So here's an example of one that was in the previous video. So this would be considered, obviously, hello, it has a UPC code on it even, brand new ephemera. So then you have pieces that are, let me see if I can find one that we can share with you right now at this moment. Ooh, look at this button. Definitely have to show you guys that one. You have pieces that are antique or vintage pieces. So those pieces, okay, here's a piece that's a vintage piece. So it can date from being hundreds, and I do mean up. We have stuff in our home that dates back to the 1700s and the very end of the 1600s up into things that, for example, this Halloween ephemera book that date to this year. So everything in between is ephemera. So from the oldest to the youngest. So these books that we create, if you will, or what I consider to be sort of memories, are for us, because mostly the ones I create are something to do with a memory, or it's to do with, for example, I like music. So it might be, Halloween, etc. It might be certain subject matter that you like. Or people do create them for the holidays. Some people create them to keep, things from their various travels. The subject matter can be anything, but at the end of the day, and some people just create them in their hodgepodge of things. So at the end of the day, a junk journal is really whatever you want to make it out to be. And so it doesn't matter, honestly, what you put in it. You could put, things that your kids created. Look, I have this wall back here with some of our daughter's creations in them up there, etc. This kind of stuff could be in there if it was small enough and made sense. But also, the question of, do you use them? I personally do. So in my particular junk journals, what I do is I include decorative paper, lined paper, graphed paper, random miscellaneous paper that in the future you could attach things to. And you can also write on them, draw on them, add a pocket, add a belly band, go wild. Sew stuff into them, etc. So I definitely make, and even like some of the features that are in my books, you definitely can use those. And some of the ones that I put in are even interactive. So it's almost like you'll go to a page and there'll be a mini game in there that you could play right in the books by spinning a wheel or opening something up or, something that's tactile. So my books are definitely non-traditional. The most traditional and most common journals that you'll see out there are going to be what I call flat lays. So things are simply stickers or glued into the book, into a collage type setting. And maybe there'll be a few words in there handwritten or something that was, created on a printer or something like that. And or text from a book or something from music sheets or whatever. And if you're lucky, there'll be some hand coloring, but many times they're using stickers and things that were pre-produced. So in my particular journey, what I do is I try to create as many of the items as I can myself, and or recover them, aka upcycle, recycle, from items that are out in my world. So this is a good example right here. This Wicked Ale Pete's. This is an old coaster. So this actually came from, I believe, a tavern that we visited, and we ended up with quite a few of these. I just like the word wicked, and if you look in the background, you know, it does have a Massachusetts feel to it, has this creepy dude up here. So things like that, and it's made of like this cardboardy kind of layered paper stuff. It's not really cardboard, but feels like it. So stuff like that, yes, it's ephemera. Yes, you can put it in your book. Yes, yes, yes. There's no wrong. So these are the things that I believe you should be looking for when you're out there versus, like I said, buying everything. And then maybe backfill with things that you purchase because maybe you need a little bit more of a subject matter, or you saw something, you're like, that's just so cool. I have to have it for my project. And so that's how you end up backfilling. So I believe your front fill is recover, search, find from your own environments and from people that you know. And then and also so let me go back to people that you know, because for some people, you just don't have those people in your world. And I totally 100% get that. So other places that you can search for ephemeral items are going to places that, you know, are getting rid of, like if you go to a book sale, for example, and especially the charity book sales are what I'm talking about. And after the book sale is over, go back, you know, call those people the very next day and ask them, you know, oh, I know you had a book sale. I was just wondering, did you have any books left? Could I maybe buy, you know, buy the box for like $5 or whatever it is? They will probably be really happy to get rid of all of the leftover books and let you go pick and choose what you want. I would suggest first looking at the children's books. At this point, obviously, if you're doing this as an art project, the condition of the book doesn't matter. So what you're looking for are beautiful illustrations, wonderful text, you know, with a variety of hopefully really pretty fonts, that kind of thing. Sheet music is something that you would be looking for in those cases. And then you would also want to look for art books, or what we also call coffee table books. Some of those can have really amazing graphics and pictures, etc., that are in them. And then from there, go on to everything else, including very old and I do mean very old, like I'm going to say 1960s and older textbooks, school books, especially the history books. I have found some amazing items out of those books. The other thing to always be on the lookout for are labels. So you have clothing labels of all sorts. It's one of my favorite places to look is at clothing labels. And if it says something interesting on it, if there's an interesting graphic, you know, just things to keep. You don't want to, my thing is, please don't keep everything, because everything is not interesting and all the words are not interesting or eye-catching either. So this one, for example, says Little Adventures. That's why I kept that. And I would actually cut out this portion down here about children. You could reshape this if you have like the fancy cut scissors, which hopefully most of us have. This is just one example of them because they will show you what the pattern is on the outside of the scissor. Here's another set. So, and I have a whole box of them up here. So you can, you can dye or color the edges. You can add little things to this. You could sew things into it, etc. So, it's where your imagination is willing to take you. Here's another little tag. This came from Chiquita Bananas. And they actually have the pink label and the yellow label. And the cool thing is I'm sorry, I said Chiquita Bananas, Chiquita Pineapples. They even show you on the back how to cut a pineapple. And I decided to keep the little hang taggy thing because I might do something with that in a book. And that's something else that I do is I try to keep whatever the little hang taggy stringy thing is, because you might want to reattach it and use this a different way. And this one just says Tarse, but what I like about it is on this side, it gives you an entire listing of various sports. So that's the reason for me keeping this one as a sports reference. And the list goes on and on. So one of the other things, which I actually have found this to be actually sort of hilarious, but not really hilarious when it comes to junk journaling, is if you play bingo or know someone who plays bingo, one of the things you'll want to do is keep the pull tab cards. This side, not so interesting. This side, incredibly colorful graphics, silliness. They're just kind of hysterical, and it's another good thing that you could share with other people. You might as well, because if you look, it says $1 is what it costs per pull tab. So you didn't win anything on that pull tab. The pull tab cards and use them in your junk journaling. Why not? And give them to people. That's another thing. Did you vote? Keep stickers that you find. This is actually a label from a bottle of honey. And what else here is a sticker that we got a few of for a new beverage, which is an American hard cider. And look at the graphic on that. So cool. Even if you didn't want to keep the words, maybe the dark and stormy clouds with the sailor or, the ale maker there in the center with this pipe is something that, you could use. Words, I will cut out interesting words besides, that's my name. So you could definitely find some interesting words. Once again, talking about, graphic pictures that are very cool from all sorts of references and books and things like that. Buttons on card. If you do not care about the cards, this is by Nouveau-Riet. And the buttons actually were imported from Canada, believe it or not. And I think it says on the back, I can't read what the word is at the bottom, but these are, so you might take these buttons off of this card and gussy this card up and use that, let alone these giant, heavy, chunky buttons. Might find a home maybe on a back or front cover. They definitely would not work inside the book. They're too thick. Thickness does count in the world of junk journaling. If you buy, I love tea, so I have an entire collection of tea, which is always being refreshed with new tea. But sometimes I find little things like this that I cut off of the boxes. And I also use the tea bag hang tags and also the little tea bag holders if the tea bag came in a sachet. So it depends on what the words are, what the graphic is, etc. Buttons. These are some vintage buttons that are on card, and these are by Le Chic out of Carlsbad, New Jersey. So, why take them off this card if you're never, maybe you could use this as like something like I could see threading through this, maybe with some silk embroidery thread or something, having it hang from the outside of my book where I bound it, but it would be stored inside of the book to sort of use as a placeholder versus using a standard book mark. You could do that. So as you could see, it's how far do you want to take it? In some cases, I don't think I said anything outrageous here today, but in some cases it is like, how outrageous do you want to get with it? Look, I just found another beautiful pearl button. These are actually shell buttons, and that's the thing. People will call shell buttons like pearls. They're not pearls, they're really shells. Some more buttons over there. So what else can I show you here? Something else that I really like to do is and this is rare because I don't, so, okay, because it's hard for people to get this next statement that I'm going to make. So as a creator, you actually gather and usually have more supplies than you will ever use in your current or your next project. Why? Because you see something out in the world and you're like, ooh, I may be able to use that in a project. Please be organized, as we talked about organization, somewhat at the beginning of this video. So one of the things that I really limit myself on are envelopes. I try to find the most interesting envelopes that I can find to use and or save for future projects. And in this bottom, the very last cubby on this unit, it has nothing but envelopes in it. And that's my limit. Once that is full, that is it. I will either start pulling things out to give to you guys. If you look down below in the comments, you'll see how to get free ephemera from me. And what I will do is put in the new items that I'm now favoring more. So, the constant rotation of stock, I think, is important. Otherwise, there's a couple things that will happen. One, you will forget what you have. Two, you will have to keep going back and reorganizing your workspace. I have a studio in here. This is where I work from. It is a giant room. It has 3 workstations in it. Technically, there's 4. But there's an entire closet over there. I told you about that unit that I'm going to give you a tour of. I have 2 more units in here that I store things in. I have 4 shelves. 4 shelves? 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves in here. I have a cabinet over there. I have another work table that has things on it that I store on over there. And I have my L-shaped desk over here. So there's a lot of space for me, but I could, if I was that type of person, overfill this room, and then to me it wouldn't have a benefit to me. So my thing is, as you bring new things in, see if there are old things that you can take out. And I don't mean old in age, I just mean maybe you found a bunch of 1980s stuff and you're like, you know what? I'm beyond the 80s. I'm going further back in time. Maybe you can move that stuff on to someone else. So, like I said, so envelopes is one place where I could go wild, but, I'm looking for interesting envelopes. They open, they close in an interesting way. They're made out of a non-standard product, etc. So that's another thing. And as we know in junk journaling, lots and lots and lots of cool opportunities to use envelopes in your artwork. And when I talk about junk journaling, to me, I'm really talking about mixed media art, which is, I bridge the gap of both of those. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so another interesting thing are business cards. Some business cards, like this one, have absolutely stunning scenes on them. So you can take this, layer things on it, cut it a different way, etc., and use this as well. So business cards are an excellent opportunity. Now, if this was a standard business card that was white and had some text on it, I would not even pause. So it's not often that I find a really pretty card like this one with this river scene and the birch trees in it. That's not something I see often, so yes, I grab those. And a great place to get an amazing free resource for beautiful business cards, if you go to trade shows, like for buttons, or obviously any type of artwork, usually those folks have some beautiful business cards. You guys know about my hard case twinchies. It's a phenomenon that I created in the junk journal world. And so people are, now getting into these, or at least getting inspired and telling me that they're going to create things from them. And you guys have seen, I don't know if you guys have seen these, but here are some that I created not long ago. This one has a bee theme. This one is a regal lady, but she is cooking up the witch's brew. And the cool thing about this one is you can hang it. I showed this one before. And then why not give her a partner in crime, William Shakespeare? Yes, he's encrusted with rhinestones. And you've seen this one before as well. So, finding things like this and thinking to yourself, okay, this is supposed to hold a literal sterling silver bar in it, or a gold bar, whether it be 8 karat, 9 karat, 12 karat, 14 karat, 18, 22, 24. Those are all the carats. And that's going from European to American. Why do I know that? Because as metal folks, we know all about that. So that's what these were meant for. But when I saw them, I had a different vision. And that vision was this. And I have had so much fun creating these. It's honestly, you guys, to me personally anyway, it doesn't take much. You guys know me. It's just so much fun. And you can also have themes. So if you're having a party or something and you're looking for something personal to, give your guest or people who volunteer to help you or whatever it is, why not a hard case twinchie? It's a thing. I created it. And so happy to share it. So some of these things like this would be perfect to cut out, like this flower. This is actually vanilla. And little pieces and things like that, and start just creating things. So, like I said, I just wanted to show you guys some of the things that I found recently that I'm adding to my collection of buttons and ephemera that will be used for junk journaling. And obviously, these will go into my button collection. And look at this message. Enjoy leisure life. What a great message from a clothing tag. So my thing is keep your eyes open. Once again, yes, I'm voting all the time. That's had seen a better day, so I'm letting that go. So let me see what this is. Oh, I see. I can let that go as well. And that is the other thing I do, is as I'm, I collect these things before I add anything to my collection. I go back through them one more time and before I sort them and store them in their new homes. And I decide whether or not I'm actually keeping all of the items. Some of them go to my, give them to my subscribers and followers on YouTube box that I have. And I actually sort all of those as well so that I could just grab a packet, throw it in an envelope, and ship it out to you. And my hair looks so messy for some reason in this video. I don't know why. I know you guys, vain, but hey, you wanted me in front of the camera. I should at least try to look kind of okay and presentable. But yeah, so I even like have a method and a system for those as well. So I'm not just like throwing them in a box. They actually get sorted, and there's like packets, and I put it in a packet so that when I'm mailing them out, I could just grab a packet, put it in the envelope, address, stamp, ship it out. So I love doing that because it's quick, it's easy, and if it's decent and good stuff, I'd rather do that than to recycle it, because that would be my next step probably. Look at this. This is pretty cool. And this actually came from a packet that was mailed to me. So the person, they actually inside of here had, and there's a bunch of different themes and things like this. Here's another one. What is this? Upside down? Nope. There's another one. Skulls, anyone? The Witch's Dream Book. This year, I didn't even update my Halloween book like I usually do. But even though it's off season, I will be updating that Halloween book because I received some pretty freaking cool things that I want to get in there. And this is a pretty decent sized piece. But see, this is something that doesn't really fit any of my aesthetics. So this is something I would definitely put in my giveaway. One of my giveaway packets. And I just love the look of this. It's like just blotches or whatever. So what can we talk about next? I hope you guys are finding this to be helpful, useful. Like I said, this video is to answer some of the questions that I've been getting pretty often, and I haven't had the chance to answer, to be honest. Look at these little, I received a whole bunch of these little like cardboard cutouts. So I have an idea of something very interesting I want to do with these. Some of these will go into hard case twinchies. Like this one is a perfect size for that with some trimming. And because I do want to make a series of Halloween twinchies. So for the dark side, we all have one, whether we want to admit it or not. Some of us just decide to embrace it a little bit more. Yep, that would fit perfectly into one of these. It's another little cardboard cutout. And these were pre-manufactured. So the person that sent me these, I mean, it was obvious that they ordered these from a particular resource. And they sent them to me as a beautiful and very generous. And I much, as you guys always know, appreciate that. So at the end of this video, because that was another question, some people were like, where can I send you things? My address is at the end of this video. It's always in the description of the video, as well as in the description of the channel. So the about, I think it's still called the about page. You could find tons of also free information and free resources there for you guys. And look at this clothing tag. It says charming and modern. Love that, especially because this is already pre-cut out, so you could get really creative with this one. What else is in my little box of goodies? Oh, here's one that has a cutout as well. A much smaller cutout, but still a cutout, which is amazing because part of the job is already done for you. found this little, this was mixed in with buttons. Here you go. It's an old Mickey Mouse. I don't know if this will clear up so you can see it clearly. It's an old Mickey Mouse like token. And it says, if I can read it, oh my God, I think I'm getting old. Like, I feel like I can't like see things as clearly as I used to be able to. Is that a thing? Can you guys tell me in the comments? Is that like a thing? It says, oh, Mouseketeers. Mickey Mouse Club Mouseketeers is what it says. Part of it is that it's old. And this is not the new Mickey. This is more of the creepy Mickey. I mean, there's no other word. There was a rat face Mickey, then there was a creepy Mickey, and then there's a Mickey that everyone knows. This is that in-between Mickey. Yeah, so this actually would be amazing, and I'm going to put it up here in a hard case 20, for example. And I'm actually going to put this up here as well. Yeah, so as you guys can see, the items that I use are varied. These items I collected over the last 2.5-ish weeks. So you could end up with a lot of ephemera. I am not always on the look or on the prowl looking for things because I have enough things, but when something catches my eye, I know that I'm going to get it now or recover it, save it, whatever now versus later, because most likely I am not going to go back to it later. And also, I know that I have and I'm not bragging when I say this, but an excellent system for storage and sorting, and I am a neat and tidy person, so I know how to keep all of this stuff in order, otherwise it would drive me mad. To be honest, sometimes when I look at this wall, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much stuff. But then I turn around and look at it, and I'm like, wait, my baby created a lot of this stuff, so... And it's hanging up on the wall. It's, neat enough, tidy enough where I can, I've gotten better with that over the decades. I used to be really bad with it. I don't know if you guys want to look at any buttons, but we can look at a few things before we go into good night. Look at this little bow. I actually cut that out, and I do enjoy cutting things out in detail like this. So it's a thing. You could tell I don't know if it's a disorder or what it is, but it's a thing. Let's see. Ooh, these bats. The bats are so cool. Look at that. Here's some little tags that someone sent me. Thank you very much. And when I say a lot of these things were sent to me from people on Facebook and a couple people here on YouTube. Like I said, some YouTube people have asked me, where can I send things? And I don't always respond. Well, this time I did respond. And so you have my information, like I said, at the end of the video. And I thank you so much for your support. When you go to the movies, save your movie ticket receipts. Those are so cool. And people actually recreate these with printers. Like if you went to the movies, just keep your receipt. And if you went with someone, get theirs as well. Or their ticket, I should say, which also acts as a receipt. And you can use those in your projects instead of purchasing them. This is something I fussy cut out, which is this cute little girl. And I plan on coloring her in. And she is going to go in a Twinchy project. Look at this cute little black cat. Super freaking cute with the pumpkin. That's going in a project as well. I've started keeping the interesting gift cards. I don't know how I'm going to use these, but you guys know me. I always come up with something that has a crazy twist to it, and everyone goes wild about it, which is great. I love when that happens. And they're like, what an amazing idea. Why didn't I think of that? Because you don't have the crazy mixed up creative mind of me. And I'm okay sharing the thought with you. And if it spurs you on to think differently, even better. We had some really cool Halloween ads or mailings that came from us, which were advertisements from Yankee Candle, since we live in New England and we're not far from Yankee Candle anyway. We are a state over, but we're not like a far away. And so this year I really paid attention to it and cut out some really cool graphics from that stuff. And some of it is even scratch and sniff, which I told you some of the things I like to put into my journals are things that are utilitarian, fun. When someone goes in there, they're like, oh my God, look, you can also do this thing to it. And of course it stays in the journal. So scratch and sniff is a good one, you guys, if you haven't thought about that. And think of like, I don't know how to say this without sounding weird, but think about things that people like to smell, such as pumpkin spice, cinnamon, orange, you know, that coffee. You know, those are the type of scratch and sniff things you would like in there. Look at this. This, another, and I told you guys about this before, amazing resource are the Trader Joe monthly advertising magazines that you can get in their stores. They have some of the coolest graphics in there. Some have a little bit of a darker edge, and some of them are what they are. Like this, look at this pumpkin with what appears to be a turban on its head. These, and this bat is another one that came out of a it's supposed to be upside down. Came out of a Trader Joe's advertising magazine. So, like I said, really, what are you limited to other than your own imaginations and the things I'm showing you, other than some that were gifts to me, did not cost anything. So there's no reason why you can't start junk journaling tomorrow, junk journaling forever, and also, you know, as a beginner, not break the bank. So there's a lot of other little bits and bobs in there. So let's take a look at a few buttons that I recently acquired. Some of these are buttons that are similar to other buttons that I have. So when I looked at these, I honestly didn't see anything that, you know, I was like, ooh, gotta save that one. You know, this one is a tiny cult button. Cult rock is what they call the material. And you can't see it, but it has like this marbling effect to it where it has like little different color specks to it, almost like they were creating a fake granite. But it's so tiny, and it's not it's not diminutive tiny, but it's tiny enough. And to me, not, you know, forgive me for saying this, for those that are purists of the cult buttons and cult rock, but it's not special enough to me not to use in a junk journal project. So these are buttons that I sorted out that I will be using in future projects. Actually, put this here. Put that there. Cute little anchor button. Great as, you know, a dangler or something like that. Here's a glass faceted black button. Once again, another one that would be great for junk journaling purposes. Some I'm putting in the box because they are what they are. They're just like, and look at this one. I don't think this one is military. I think this is just a fashion button, so I might be able to find the fashion house for that. Maybe it's Yves Saint Laurent. Maybe. I doubt it, because it would say YLS. Yeah, so here I just have this collection of buttons sitting here. I'm going to put them all in here I will show you this pretty glass one. This pretty carved glass button. And yeah, that's how I decide what I'm keeping. There's a whole bunch of buttons in here, you guys, like a whole bunch, which I have to go through. But, you know, that's how I decide what I'm keeping as far as my collection. Even the buttons get separated by if they're metal, if they're plastic, if they're mother of pearl or shell, aka. Color, I sometimes separate, and many times, honestly, I do separate by color. And, sometimes by the various plastics. But if these are going to be generally used in art projects, such as junk journal, mixed media art, I usually do not. See, that's a lot of buttons. I usually, don't go into micro sorting, because at that point, like, why are you doing that? If it's for your actual collection, your button collection, then I could see you doing that, because of course you want to know what you have in your collection, such as if you collected, let's just say, sterling silver coins. Like, those are usually separated by what the coin is. They may even be encased based upon their value. They may even get rated, stuff like that. So you know that is not just a bunch of junk, broken silver necklaces or something. It's something more special. So with my buttons, I use that same type of methodology when I'm deciding, how to store my items and what I'll be using for projects versus what I use for collecting. Same thing with ephemera. I do have an ephemera collection of things that obviously should never, ever, ever be changed. And some we're actually, hopefully this year, going to be donating to the African Museum of Art in Washington, D.C., or there is a museum in our state that is in the other part of the state near to our daughter that we will be stopping by and making a donation with them. They have expressed a strong interest, but we decided we might want to give nationally first. And then if they're not interested for some reason, then we would definitely donate to this more state, regional, I guess I'll call it, museum in our state. So anyway, I hope that that was helpful for you guys. Please let me know what your opinions are down in the comments. I really would like to know. And those of you that do leave comments, you know that I always respond. And it's rare that I'll be cheap and just give you a heart. I usually literally type words in. So we do care about everyone here in our community. And welcome to the community, those of you that are brand new. So exciting to see so many of you on. These are the postcards that I have left. And if I write back to you, if you send me something or whatever, I always send you like some postcards. People collect these now, which is amazing. And this is the information for the Velvet Lounge Life, which was named after our little dog Velvet. She was such a cutie. Miss her every day. Miss our dog Maya as well. And these are also great resources for free ephemera. Yay! But thank you guys for tuning in. And take care, please. Like I said, also look at the community tab of this channel. The community tab has a ton of cool photographs, extra content that takes a second to go through. They're not videos. It's, snippets, bits and bobs, of various things. It's almost like a bulletin board, if you will, of information. And just to let you know, like, what's going on. So please always check out that tab. You can leave hearts. I think you can, definitely you can leave comments. And there's some things out there that are fun for you to participate in as well, which are completely and always free. So thank you guys. Be well and make sure you're sharing.